Hi, Julia here with a strategy for multi-source reasoning text-based questions. When it comes to data insights on the GMAT, and especially MSR questions, the first thing that you'll hear is you've got to learn how to skim, or you've got to learn how to find information quickly and don't waste all your time reading every little thing. That is almost always the best way to approach them. But sometimes the MSR components are so brief and full of information that you end up losing more time trying to skim around than you would gain by just not reading everything up front. And you're better off reading the whole thing up front and knowing where all of the information actually is. My general tip is that if it's text-based and it's a wall of text, look at your titles, look at the first sentence of every paragraph, but don't read everything unless you think you need to answer a question. If it's 2 or 3 tabs and every tab has a couple of sentences on it, just go ahead and read everything. Read it in the order that they have presented it to you. You will probably need all 6 of those sentences. So here is an example problem that illustrates the kind of short text style MSR question that you are better off just reading all of the prompt up front. Here's our question. First thing I would do, look through the tabs, see what you're dealing with. This one doesn't look super long, and we'll pop over here, also like 3 sentences. So read it from the top. Director of Programming. The results from our most recent focus group related to programming on our top performing channel, RAD TV, show that current viewers and potential viewers in our target demographic are most interested in watching programs that have a supernatural element, family dramas, and shows in high school settings. They also prefer hour-long programs to half-hour ones. And the network executive says, due to budget constraints, per episode production costs of any original programming we add to our lineup cannot exceed the standard $3 million per episode budget of our current original programming. However, the per episode production cost of any original programming currently on our lineup with an average viewership of more than 6 million per episode may exceed 3 million, though not by more than 30%. Additionally, newly acquired syndicated programming must be in a half-hour format. So now we know roughly where the information for each person is. Let's look at our first question. Consider each of the following statements. Does the information provided by the network executive and the director of programming support the inference as stated? So, the network will not make any new acquisitions of programs that are in a half-hour format. Actually, they prefer those in a half-hour format. So, answer 1 is no. The network prefers to acquire original programming rather than syndicated programming. That is not supported. It says newly acquired syndicated programming must be in the half-hour format, and also there is this $3 million per episode budget on their current programming and any new programming. And this one is just about preferences, so no, B is not supported. And C, the network will not acquire any hour-long dramas that cost $3 million per episode to produce. That is not more than $3 million. That is exactly at their max budget, so that is also not supported. So the answer for the first question is just no all the way down. Let's look at our next question. From among the television programs described below that RAD TV might purchase, select the one that satisfies at least one of the preferences described by the director of programming and does not violate any constraints outlined by the network executive. So only has to satisfy one of the preferences, but it cannot violate any of the constraints. let's look at the constraints first and see what we can knock out. Due to budget constraints, per episode production cost of any original programming we add to our lineup cannot exceed the standard $3 million per episode budget of our current original programming. However, the per episode production cost of any original programming currently on our lineup. So we actually don't care about this second sentence because that's their current shows, and we're talking about a new show. And last, additionally, newly acquired syndicated programming must be in half-hour format. So there's really only two things. Newly acquired syndicated programming must be in a half-hour format, and due to budget constraints, any new programs that they add to their lineup cannot exceed $3 million per episode. So let's look through our choices and see what we can rule out based on the network executive's constraints. A, hour-long original drama about a teenage girl with psychic powers, $3.5 million per episode. Too expensive, that's not going to work. B, half-hour reality show about a high school football team in syndication. That one we can't rule out yet. C, half-hour original sitcom about a big city family that moves to a small town. $2 million per episode. That we can't rule out yet. D, hour-long dramedy about a high school for werewolves in syndication. Syndicated programming must be in a half-hour format, so we can rule out D. And E, half-hour original comedy about a therapist for deaf. $3.1 million per episode. So that one is also over budget. So A, D, and E do not work. We've just got B and C. Let's look and see which one meets one of our requirements. Demographics are most interested in watching programs that have a supernatural element, family dramas, and shows in high school settings. They also prefer hour-long programs to half-hour ones. So a half-hour reality show about a high school football team that's in syndication seems like it would meet all of the requirements, and also it's a high school show, so it meets one of the preferences. A half-hour original sitcom about a big city family is a sitcom, so a comedy about a family and not a family drama. So the best answer is going to be B. All right, let's look at our last question. Based on its budgetary constraints, Rad TV will decide whether to keep or cut some original programs from its existing lineup. For each of the following statements, select yes if it can be inferred that the network may keep the program. Otherwise, select no. So we're talking about budgetary constraints, so we're dealing with the network executive tab, and we are looking for if the network may keep the program. Then we can mark it as yes. First program, the program costs $2.3 million per episode to produce. That is lower than the budget of $3 million and averages 4 million viewers per episode. So yes, I think that they may keep this one. The second one, the program costs $3.1 million per episode to produce and averages 6 million viewers per episode. In the case of this one, there is a 30% cushion, but it's only for programs that have an average viewership of more than 6 million per episode, so it does not meet that requirement. It would not qualify for the cushion 30%, and therefore it is too expensive. No, they will not keep this one. And C here, the program costs $3.8 million per episode to produce and averages 7 million viewers per episode. So 7 million is more than 6, which means that this last program does qualify potentially for the 30% cushion, and 3 million plus 30% would be 3.9 million. 3.8 is less than 3.9, so they may keep this third program. So they may keep the first or the third program, but they are not likely to keep the second program due to budget constraints. As you can see, there's just not that much information in this that we don't use. So if we tried to skip reading some, we would end up wasting more time than we were able to save by not reading everything. If you're looking at a multi-source reasoning problem like this, then just go ahead, read everything up front and save yourself that trouble.